Hi. I wanted to share with you a quick story this Shabbat, one of my favorite stories that I heard as a kid. And it's interesting though, because it's about heaven and hell. And Jews don't talk much about heaven and hell, but I heard this story when I was a young boy from a rabbi, and it's always stayed in my mind. So, the prophet Elijah, we're taught, can answer any question that we have. Whatever the question, he knows the answer. And once, when a man came across Elijah, he asked him, "What's the difference between heaven and hell?" So Elijah said to him, "I'll show you." So he brought him first to a beautiful palace, and it looked amazing from the outside. And as he approached it, they looked in through the window, they peered in, and they saw the most beautiful decorations, the furniture, the paintings, the everything. It was absolutely gorgeous. The most amazing palace you can imagine. And on the table was set the greatest feast you could possibly think of. It had all your favorites, from Bubby's chicken noodle soup to pizza and s'mores and ice cream. Everything you could possibly want was there on this table. But as the man looked closer, he noticed that everybody there looked miserable. They were skinny, they looked hungry, they looked unhappy, and he couldn't tell why, because it looked like they had everything that they could ever possibly want or need. But then he noticed that attached to each of their arms were giant ladles. So as they scooped the food up, they couldn't put it into their mouth. The food merely fell out, and they couldn't eat anything that was in front of them. And this, Elijah said, was hell. So then he took him to see heaven. When he went to heaven, it was the same thing. A big, beautiful palace, exactly identical. The decorations and everything, when he peered in through the window, looked exactly identical. Even the feast, all those favorite foods we were just talking about. It was exactly identical. But the difference here was that everybody looked happy. Everybody was well fed, everyone was laughing and having a good time. And the man couldn't understand why at first. Because when he looked, he saw that they had the same spoons attached to their arms. And it would be impossible for them to feed themselves. The food would simply fall out. But then the man noticed, as he was watching and paying attention, that instead of taking a scoop of something and trying to put it in your own mouth, each of the people at this table fed the person next to them. They reached over and they fed the person next to them, to their left, to their right, across the table. They were helping each other, and by doing so, they all had plenty to eat. And that, Elijah said, is the difference between heaven and hell. Hell is a place where people don't help each other. But heaven, wherever we are, is something we can create. When we turn to our neighbor and we ask them what they need, when we turn to our loved ones and we ask them what we can do for them. Heaven is where we think of others, not of ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.